Welcome to the Breakfast Show here on Faith FM with me, Skafy. I have Lindsay here co-hosting this program with me. And on the production desk, we have Letitia and Shell. So we are going to start this segment with another quiz question here. Now, I can see a bit of a smart smile in the ladies' face. I'm wondering what is it that they are planning here. So, Letitia, please spill the beans. What's happening in the world of quiz questions today?
We have a fun one.
Okay.
Yes.
like it.
Nice.
Get ready. This one is Bible or not.
Oh,
Okay.
like it.
So, you got to tell me if it comes from the Bible or not. The lion shall lie down with the lamb. Is that what the Bible says? Or is it something else? No.
You're looking at me with a face.
We've got a trick question.
have
Ish. Oh,
faces.
we don't know. We have faces.
We have
You
faces.
look at this particular face.
So if you think you know, 0491 064 669, maybe we've stumped you this time. Who knows?
What?
I will say this.
One correct and one incorrect. We're not going to say who.
Oh, no.
I'm not even going to let you know who's right.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Okay.
Usually
All
am.
right.
You'll have to wait and see.
I have to wait and see. That is a great
The
question.
lion
here.
will lay down with the lamb.
Yep. The statement was the lion shall lay down with the lamb.
Okay.
Is that from the Bible or is it not?
Okay, if you do know the answer to that one, if you would like to play along, 0491 064
I'm
669.
not cheating.
It looks like Lindsay is doing a bit of a looking upping here at the studio. We actually received a message here, Lindsay, from
Yes.
our good friend John. John sent a message in the morning. He said that this song was helping me so much, just beautiful and true. Amen. Do we know what song John was talking about, producer Shell? I don't think that the ladies are. Yes. Do we know which song John was referring to when he sent his message?
Yes, that was the song from The Afters, and it was called Well Done.
yeah.
Okay.
It was a beautiful
Wow,
song.
very good. So thank you very much, John. And John actually sent us a great message here. He said that he went to the health hub yesterday. He got a daytime tonic and a nighttime one as well. And he actually slept 6 hours
Wow.
last night. And we are so glad for you, John. John has been clean and sober for 2 weeks now. And one of the things that he requested for our station to pray for him was that he could sleep, because he was finding a hard time to sleep, and he couldn't sleep in a couple of nights. And now he's sleeping 6 hours and feeling rested and refreshed. John, that's such a great news. I'm praising God for your life, my friend. I'm praising God for the plans that he has for you and for the testimony that you're giving. So stay strong, stay on track here. We are praying for you here from Faith FM, your friends. And thank you so much for listening. It's truly an honor to have listeners such as you joining us every morning for positive and uplifting news. We are going to move out now and to talk about Epaphroditus. Epaphroditus is a very interesting name. I'm going to tell you what it means.
It's such an interesting name that during the break you asked me, Lindsay, would you ever name your child Epaphroditus? And I was like, what?
That's right. Look, definitely it's not a name that is in fashion anymore.
And my response to that was, if I'm feeling very extra. Yeah.
But I think that it would fit well here in Australia, because you could call him Epi.
Epi. Yeah.
Yeah, Epi. What's your name? Oh, it's Epi. Or you can even call him Epic. But his name is actually Epaphroditus, which is an epic name.
Epic Epaphroditus. Okay.
Very good. Lindsay.
Yes.
We are going to talk about
Epaphroditus.
Epaphroditus. Now, do you know what the name of Epaphroditus means? Or does it remind you of any word?
I'm just going to go with epic for now. That's all.
You know what? Okay,
No,
Epaphroditus. Have you heard about Aphrodite?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Aphrodite's was
the goddess,
in
of
Greek
love
mythology.
and beauty and charm.
Sure,
And,
yeah.
Look, she's still being worshipped today.
Yeah.
Because the beauty industry and
it's
beauty
going
is something
strong.
that is worshipped by
Yeah.
many people in this world, where they take their entire self-worth and value about how they look and how they're feeling. And unfortunately, with our social media culture and celebrity culture, a lot of young people fall into that trap, into that worship, because this is it's a brutal form of worship.
Yeah.
Because any flaw,
It's very legalistic.
it is a sin. Yeah,
Yeah.
very legalistic. So, but we're not going to be talking about the dangers of the idolatry of beauty. This is not the topic for today, because we're just talking about Epaphroditus, because Epaphroditus means the one who belongs to Aphrodite. So it could mean because, mom and dad, Epic's mom and dad wanted him to be, handsome or charming.
Okay.
Or so said, hey, no, this is like a son of of Aphroditus, like he's
Radio.
yeah. So we don't know if he was good looking or not, but what we do know is that he had an excellent character,
Okay.
and that's what we are going to be looking today. Who was Epaphroditus? Who does he represent, and what can we learn from this minor character of the Bible? But it's mentioned there for a good reason.
Okay.
So let's open up our Bibles. In the book of Philippians, we are going to look into chapter 2, verse 25. Please, Lindsay.
Alrighty. Yet I considered it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother, fellow worker and fellow soldier, but your messenger and the one who ministered to my need. Since he was longing for you all and was distressed because you had heard that he was sick. For indeed he was sick, almost unto death. But God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. Therefore I sent him the more eagerly, that when you see him again you may rejoice, and I may be less sorrowful. Receive him therefore in the Lord with all gladness, and hold such men in esteem. Because for the work of Christ he came close to death, not regarding his life, to supply what was lacking in your service toward me.
Yes. Okay, let's pause here. Let's read another passage here that complements this one, Lindsay. So Philippians chapter 4, verse 18.
4:18 says, Indeed, I have all and abound. I am full, having received from Epaphroditus the things sent from you, a sweet-smelling aroma, an acceptable sacrifice, well-pleasing to God.
Yes. Okay, so Epaphroditus, let's just now put together the pieces of the puzzle
Sure.
here. So what have we discovered about Epaphroditus so far?
Epaphroditus is a good friend of Paul. He considers him a brother and a co-worker, a co-soldier in the fight of faith. And he also loves the people in Philippi. And he was really sad when he'd heard that the Philippians had heard that he was sick. And he was like, I want to go and comfort them and let them know that I'm doing better. Like, it's okay. And like, he was sick because he was working for the gospel. He was putting his life on the line for the sake of the gospel. And he's also been bringing some gifts from the Philippians to Paul. So it seems like he's like a go-between between Paul and the Philippians. He's sort of that messenger between them, and just very much just on both sides here, like loving all of them.
That's right. Oh, what a great summary. This is exactly what happened. So Epaphroditus was a leader in the church in Philippi, and when the church wanted to bless Paul and send some gifts, an offering to Paul, guess who they sent? Epaphroditus. So Epaphroditus went from Philippi, which is in modern-day Greece, all the way to Rome. It was a long journey, and something happened during that trip. We don't know if it was during the trip or if it was when he arrived in Rome, and he felt very sick,
Right.
almost to the point of death. And somehow that word got back to the Philippians. And back in the days, like we're talking pre-WhatsApp era.
Pre-WhatsApp, yep. Okay.
Talking about pre-instant messaging era. Like news traveled very, very slowly.
Yeah.
And so, when people are getting these crackled radio messages, radio, of course, so to speak, and they're just listening to like some partial thing, like, oh, Epaphroditus is very, very sick. You heard this is the last thing you heard, and then you won't hear about Epaphroditus for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
How do what do you imagine? What do you think? Like, have you been in that situation before where you're trying to to get in contact with someone? Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad. I certainly have that, with my wife. I'm trying to get in contact with her. She was she was not home when the time she was supposed to come home, and she was not, taking up her phone and start getting worried about what has happened.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Had family just go missing and don't know what's happened to them, and time goes past and you're like, what is going on? So
Yeah. It can get very weird. Now, imagine feeling like that for a whole month.
yeah.
That's what people in the olden days experienced when they heard such news from Epaphroditus. So when Paul sends the letter from Epaphroditus, so Epaphroditus goes, he comes, he brings goods, and then he's supposed to return to Philippi after a period of recovery with Paul's letter to the Philippians. So Paul is delivering it through Epaphroditus. And Epaphroditus, what I think it's the beauty here about Epaphroditus is that Epaphroditus kind of represents you and I, Lindsay, and you listener. He's more like the everyday people. He's not a Timothy. He's not a Paul going out and having like these amazing world-changing missions. He's just like a servant of the church. He's just a messenger boy in this situation here. That's what all he's doing. But when Paul looks at him, he looks at him with a completely different lens from what we thought. Like he would be just a courier. He's like the Uber delivery guy here, pretty much.
Okay. Yep.
He's just delivering a letter. But when Paul looks at him, he's not just delivering a letter.
Yeah.
He is my fellow worker. He is my fellow soldier. And by being sick, and it's not that he got sick because he was, going through, like Paul, beatings and lashes and castaways and all these kinds of things. He felt sick because he was doing some very ordinary, mundane mission, which is just to deliver a letter from one person to another, or delivering some goods from one part of the world to the other part of the world. Yet, Paul looks at that and he says he fell sick to the point of death, but he did so because he was serving Jesus. And I just want to say how we cannot underestimate this passage, because a lot of times people think that their work for Jesus is not really making a difference.
Yeah.
Maybe they're supported the church. Maybe they're a deacon in their church. Mm-hmm. And maybe they're a servant. Maybe they're helping to set up tables and chairs and maybe organize it and tidy up their room. And they think, maybe they're cleaning up. Maybe they are teaching at the kids, the younger kids lessons, and they're singing some songs. And we can think, the world pretty much stays the same day in, day out, and week in, week out. There's not much difference that it's making. But from the lens of the Apostle Paul, he's saying, no, we're actually doing a work for Jesus here. You're helping to build God's kingdom here. You're laying a little brick in God's kingdom, and that is significant. And I think that we all should really have that in mind. Whatever is it that we're doing at the church, whatever is it that we are contributing or witnessing to people, we should never see these things as vain just because they are small. But on the contrary, we can actually rejoice at night when you go home and say, hey, you know what? I actually helped to establish God's kingdom today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there is that famous story about this man that John Kennedy was visiting during the Apollo times, when they were trying to send men to the moon.
Yeah.
And he came to NASA and he saw the janitor sweeping the floors, and he's asking, "Hey, what is your work here? What is your job?" And he says, "Mr. President, my job is to help a man land on the moon."
That's so good. What a good attitude.
That's a good attitude. And that's
the mission of where he was working, and
Yeah.
he was part of that mission, even though he was sweeping the floors. If those floors weren't swept, people are going to be tripping over rubbish
right.
and all sorts of things and not being able to
If the
get to
bathrooms
the
are not
office.
clean, you're not making any calculations to send people to the moon. Or if you're
No.
making calculations, they're not going to be the best ones.
Yeah.
So
even what looks like
everything
small
matters.
and mundane, it's actually a big help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big help. And it's not unseen by God. In the same way that the work of Epaphroditus was not unseen by the Apostle Paul, the work of everyday Christian men and women doing the humblest of jobs is also not invisible to God's eyes.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Okay, I think it's now time for our quiz answer from our last quiz question. What was that, Tish?
We had a bit of a cheeky one that time.
Yeah, you got me.
Yep. So it was.
I'm glad that I could actually. I got this one right because I was looking at your faces and I knew that you were up to something.
Oh, so
We
you didn't
looked
get
a
it
bit
right
too
because you
cheeky.
knew you waited, did you?
No, I look at them and I said, there's something smelling a little bit fishy.
We looked
And then I realized, I think
cheeky.
that is actually the wolf that is going to be lying with the lamb, not the
Yeah,
lion.
that is
but the lion
correct.
was going to be brought by a child. A child will be
The
bringing
lion's
a
going
lamb.
to eat with the ox,
Oh, okay.
and the wolf will lie with the lamb.
But there's a lamb and a lion, and that is Jesus. So that's what got us.
Just a bit of a mix-up in which words go where.
Yeah, wow,
Wow.
very nice. That was a great quiz
So
question.
the answer was not.
There, she's not in the Bible.
Correct. The answer was
Not
no.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
not exactly in the Bible in those particular words.
This is one of my favorite Bible passages because, the Bible talks about heaven. It doesn't describe everything that's there because I think that there's a surprise factor, but a few things that it does describe, this harmony with nature, like being able to understand. I actually been seeing some videos here, which are quite, I do not know what to make of them, Lindsay.
What's that?
I've seen people training their dogs and sometimes even their pigs they have like all these buttons.
Yeah.
With words.
Oh, I
like,
know
I
these
love
ones,
you,
yeah.
yes, no, I want to play, I want food, and so on. And they like teach these animals like 30 different words.
Yeah.
And they can totally communicate with them.
I don't like these because I feel like some of these animals are getting depression based on these words.
Oh, really?
Like, they're always saying that they're so depressed. I'm like,
Oh, really?
It wouldn't know it was depressed if it wasn't taught that word.
Yeah, look, I don't know. The ones that I've
it's
seen,
too introspective.
they usually see, I want to play. So I do not know. I don't understand anything about animal psychology. But what I do know is that the Bible says that when Jesus returns, we are going to be so much in harmony with the natural world.
Do you think we'll be able to talk to animals in heaven?
Look, I don't think that animals will be speaking, but I think that we will have enough time to figure out everything about everything,
Yeah.
including how animals communicate, and we
Yeah.
can learn how to communicate with them in different ways, even in nonverbal ways.
Yeah.
So I cannot wait for that. This is, I think, it's one of the most amazing, one of the things that excites me the most about in heaven.
Yeah, hanging out with the animals.
Yeah, just like,
it'll be so
going
good.
for a nap and you're just laying in the belly of a lion and you're just like cozying up there, totally safe. Like,
Yeah. Laying against the belly of the lion, not laying in the belly of the lion.
not inside of the belly of the lion, on the outside part.
Oh man, when I was a kid, and to this day, I still plan to have a pet Scutelosaurus when I get to heaven.
Scutelosaurus.
Yeah,
Does
they're-
that even exist?
Yeah,
What is that
It's
saurus?
it's small and cute. It's
Oh,
got sharp
really?
teeth. And
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, the pictures I've seen of the artist description makes me think I want to pet one in heaven.
Okay,
So.
yeah, that's fair enough. You
Yeah.
can. Very good. Now, let's get into the next quiz
Yeah.
question. So the last one for the day. Producer Tish, what's the last quiz question?
Okay, last question for the day. What kind of offering was 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice? A little bit of a weird one.
I know this
Ooh,
one.
It was a.
Is it a multiple choice or no? It's just a...
It's just, if you know the answer, please let us know. We have... No, not one right
I know
answer
who
yet.
gave it, but
What kind of offering was 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice? 0491 064 669. Yes, 1 correct answer and 2 correct answers.
Did we say the same thing, Lindsay?
yeah, but I wrote one word and you wrote like 20.
Yeah.
If you think you know as well, if you think you know what kind of offering was 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice, lovely offering. 0491 064 669.
That is a very interesting offering.
You'll find this story in
Like
First
5
Samuel?
golden tumors and 5...
Yeah.
That's right. It's a very interesting story. Here we can talk a little bit more about it when we review the answer to the quiz question.
1 Samuel chapter 6, I believe. Yep. Okay.
So we were talking about Epaphroditus.
We were. What else do we want to talk about him?
Look, we spoke about how Epaphroditus represents us.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke about how Epaphroditus represents like the everyday person who's doing everyday jobs to serve the church, to serve the saints. And when Paul looks at Epaphroditus, he says, look, he's my fellow soldier. He's my fellow soldier. He's my fellow worker. Like, Paul did not see himself as superior to Epaphroditus by any means. Actually, Paul saw Epaphroditus as more worthy of honor than himself. Paul is following his own advice here. He's
Yeah.
following his own theology, isn't he? we cannot accuse the Apostle Paul of being a hypocrite, I don't think,
No.
in this case, because he truly, genuinely, look what he said here. He says, look, God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but also on me, so that I would not have sorrow upon sorrow. So the Apostle Paul here, I think that for the first time in this letter, the Apostle Paul is acknowledging that he had sorrow.
Yeah.
Because so far we have seen the Apostle Paul being very positive.
Yeah, he's usually the positive guy.
Look, he's in jail. His neck is on the line, literally.
Yeah.
And he's saying, hey, you know what? But rejoice, because the word of God is being preached and people are listening. Even like the household of Caesar.
Look at the bright side.
Look at the bright side. Look, if I die, I'm going to be with Jesus, and I'm so happy that that's going to happen. If I don't die, I'm going to be able to preach the gospel to you. So I'm hopeful that I am going to escape this situation, but even if I don't, I am completely chilled. And then he says, but look, when I heard about that Epaphroditus coming to serve me, coming to do something, and Paul was very clear. He didn't really need the offering from the Philippians.
Yeah, okay.
In the letter of Philippians, he said, look, I'm thanking you for your generous gift. I'm thanking you for your offering. But what I'm thanking you is not for the offering itself, because I know how to be content in every circumstance. I'm thanking you because you get the gospel. Like, you're trying to do something for Jesus. To me, that's actually what's speaking volumes. Your generosity.
Yeah, he's not grateful for the substance he's receiving so much as the fact that they're giving it.
That's right. And then, but imagine when he got there, and then Epaphroditus almost dies
on the way to give it to him.
And Paul says, look, he's going to bring sorrow upon sorrow. So the sorrow of Epaphroditus' death was going to pile up on the sorrow that Apostle Paul was feeling, perhaps for being imprisoned, but perhaps also for just when he contemplates the condition of his churches, and sometimes he has sorrow there. But Paul said here, look, you know what? I am so grateful for what happened to Epaphroditus, because I would be in such a sorrowful state. I would be so devastated. I would be so sad if Epaphroditus would have died.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's like the representation, the messenger of the Philippians. He's like not just a great guy himself, but he's also representing their love for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And bringing that message of their love for him. Hey, we received a message a few minutes ago.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to read it for us?
Yeah. So Brad says, on that story of the NASA janitor, reminds me of an illustration I heard before that the average honeybee creates 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its life, which seems like very little, but will also pollinate thousands, if not tens of thousands of flowers. Using the right metric to measure your success or self-worth matters.
Ah, Brett, what a great story.
I never knew that. Like 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey. I go through a lot of teaspoons of honey very quickly. That's a lot of bees' lifetimes of work.
That's right. Every gulp is the work of a lifetime of like 1,000 bees.
Well, like 1 teaspoon would be 12 bees.
12 bees, yes.
Lifetime
work. So 12 bees.
Yeah.
But how much honey do you go through every day? Like a full cup?
My jar of ginger tea probably takes 2 teaspoons on average.
So like 25 bees sacrificed their life so that you could have your ginger tea.
This
and get
morning.
the answers right, yeah.
Yes. I got most of them right except that last one.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is an amazing start. Look, you gotta love bees. Bees are such important animals.
Yeah. But yeah, what he's saying here is the way that we measure our success or self-worth matters. Like, they pollinate so many flowers, but they only make a tiny amount of honey. Like, they put in so much hard work. And we think of bees as like good little worker bees,
Yeah.
We try to be like a good little worker bee sometimes. And yeah, this is very applicable to Epaphroditus and also to our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. No, and the metric that we have to look into Christian life is not necessarily metric of, how many people, were baptized because of us. Even though these things are great and beautiful, Paul himself actually never really measured his success in terms of baptisms. Did you know that? I actually, because look, in Christian world, sometimes churches say, hey, and when we are to celebrate baptisms, by the way, but sometimes there can backfire a little bit, and then the churches or pastors, they start to compare themselves. Okay, how many baptisms you've got? I don't have so many baptisms. I have that many baptisms. My church had these many baptisms, and so on. And each baptism is a life that has been transformed, redeemed by Jesus, and it should be celebrated.
100%.
We should also be encouraging people to make that decision to be baptized, because this is what Jesus done. This is what Jesus told us
Yeah.
to do. So this is a definitely great thing. But at the same time, I think that for us to measure, I think that the Christian life should be measured in terms of faithfulness,
Yeah.
more in terms of results, because the results are up to God. You know, for example, who brought more more souls to Jesus, the Apostle Paul or Hananias of Damascus? Apostle Paul,
Yeah.
hands down, billions of people, by my last count.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for Hananias, the Apostle Paul wouldn't be anywhere. He'd be just a blind man somewhere.
That's true. Yep. And
So-
he was faithful with that one thing that he didn't want to do for
That's-
the guy he really didn't like and was scared of, but he did it because God called him to anyway. And that's how we have Paul going around
That's right.
the Mediterranean and ultimately impacting billions of people's lives over 2,000 years.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think we should measure in terms of faithfulness, in terms of listening to God, in terms of are we connecting to God through prayer? Are we learning something new about God? These are the true metrics of success. The external results, if you became rich or poor, how many people came to the Lord, leave it to the Lord. This is His ultimately.
Yeah.
Not ours. He can make rich whoever He wants to make rich. He can, baptize whoever He wants to baptize, and all these kinds of things. Look at Jonah, for example. Jonah baptized, an entire city, so to speak, in Nineveh.
Yeah, okay.
Even though he was not, he was just, he was not even super willing,
No.
but he was faithful. He was doing the work that God has, half-heartedly, but he was doing it, and God used him and blessed him.
Wow. Yeah.
Same thing with Noah. I once said this, someone didn't like it when I mentioned, but I said, look, if we were going to judge between Noah and Jonah, from a human perspective, Jonah had way more evangelistic success than Noah. Noah only brought his own family to the ark.
Yeah.
After preaching for 120 years. And yet, when you look at the faithfulness of both of them, Noah was serving God faithfully for 120 years, where
Yeah.
Jonah was just half-heartedly serving God. And even after God did amazing things, he was still grumpy about it.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't like
Yeah.
it because he knew the good character of God.
Yeah. So don't worry too much about this results, the success.
No.
Worry about the process.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Do the thing that God has called you to.
Yeah. I think that's very, very freeing truth.
Yeah. Can be hard to follow through at certain moments because of our own sinful selfishness and wanting to do things our own way and, not put ourselves out too much. But yeah, it's so important that we follow God's calling and do as He's asked. And we will experience so much more blessing in our own lives just as a result of loving Him by doing what He's asked us to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're now, David sent a message here. He said, hey, there has been testing where they teach gorillas and chimpanzees Australian sign languages so that humans can communicate with the apes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, have you seen the story of Coco? Coco the gorilla? She's I think one of the
perhaps
most famous
heard.
ones, if not the most famous one.
Yeah.
And some people question it, but yes, they can totally learn.
They were actually teaching a beluga whale this a few years ago as well. Like there was a beluga whale up like Alaska or Canada or somewhere up that way. Like I read this story at least 5 or so years ago, and it was able to communicate specific words
Wow.
like through specific signs.
That's
So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Very good.
really
So of course,
interesting.
animals can communicate. We have to. This is definitely an area that we will learn more about, especially when we get to the kingdom of God in heaven. Let's get back here to the story of Epaphroditus here, because
Few more
we're not quite
minutes
done with
left.
him yet. So Paul says, therefore, I have sent him all the more eagerly. So Paul was kind of saying, look, he would have said, look, he would have been a little bit, he would feel a bit sad for like sending Epaphroditus, because Epaphroditus was someone that Paul really enjoyed the fellowship. So you know what? I'm sending him even the more eagerly, not only because I wanted to communicate to you, Philippians, but also because I know that you are going to receive him with such a joy after seeing him who you thought could have been dead by now, alive and well.
You know what? I noticed something. I was reading the story of Philemon recently, and even though Paul really loved the guy, what's his name in that story, Onesimus, who was the runaway slave. Even though he was a runaway slave and he was now serving Paul, Paul loved this guy. Even though he loved him, he was like, you know what, I need to send him back to his former, slave owner. And so Paul has this habit of sending the people that he loves to the people who need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. That's a great. Never thought about that in that way.
Yeah, I just saw that.
And then this is what Paul says: receive him then in the Lord with all joy, and hold men like him in high regard, because he came close to death for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete what was deficient in your service to me. So what was deficient in their service to the Apostle Paul? That they couldn't go there and deliver it to him. So he said, look, he was doing what you guys, the other you couldn't do it. And you know what? I want you to hold men like him in high regard. And this is, I think, what we have to do as well. We really need to hold people that has this servant attitude, as humble as it is, in high regard.
Yeah.
We normally esteem in high regard like a status, like, wealthy people or very eloquent people or the movers and shakers. We hold them in high regard, and maybe so we should. But the Apostle Paul is saying, hey, don't forget about the Epaphroditus, the people who, nobody knows exactly necessarily what they're doing. They don't have a lot of honor, a lot of credit, but they are doing some humble but very important work for the Lord. And when Paul will say, look, this is actually, these men, they might not be famous, they might not be in the spotlight, but they are doing works for the Lord, and they should be considered fellow servants, fellow soldiers, just as much as the apostles themselves.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
We're now going to move on because we had a question here about, golden tumors and golden rats and
what on earth is that about?
Golden creepy things. So what is all about that? What kind of offering was this, Letitia?
Yeah, so this was actually a gift from the Philistines, and I believe it was when they brought the ark back.
Yeah, so
Yes.
if I recall the story
A guilt
correctly,
offering.
It's a guilt offering.
Yeah, if I recall the story correctly, there was a time where the high priest's sons decided to take the Ark of the Covenant into battle without asking permission or anything, and they lost it in battle against the Philistines. The Philistines took ownership of it for a while, but then they started actually receiving tumors and getting cancerous growths. And so they were like, we should probably not keep this other god's, relic sort of thing. So let's send it back and send some offerings to try to reverse this curse or whatever is going on to us. They didn't know what was going on. So they sent it back.
Yes, and God healed them after that because, so we don't mess out
Don't mess with God.
With God's things, with sacred things. It's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Tish, and thank you so much for playing along with us, listening friend, because we really enjoy reading here your messages. And we are coming up to the end of our program, Lindsay. What has been some of the highlights of today's show for you?
Oh, man, we've had so many good conversations today. I think the interview that we did about mental health first aid was really handy for a lot of people to hear about. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. Actually, just to think about it, because this is definitely not something that wasn't in the forefront of my radar. But to think about those things in terms of, hey, are they safe? Can I offer hope in the terms of, hey, you're going to go through this. You can do it. Give them some agency. This is what you can do. And it is really some great tips. So if you missed that interview or any part of actually our program, you can jump online, go to faithfm.com.au, and you can find our podcasts there. We can also get our podcasts from whatever you get your podcasts from, Apple Podcasts or Overcast, Spotify. We are in all of these podcast platforms. But look, I actually was very touched by the life of Epaphroditus.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth. I like how I really love these tiny, small, minor characters in the Bible, and sometimes just giving them a little bit of attention and seeing what they are all about. It definitely helps to get some golden lessons.
Yeah.
We've
drawn out a lot from just a few little verses about
this
man's
verses,
life.
But I think that is a very powerful
story. He's such an
story.
encouraging and inspiring character of the New Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then being reminded of that story of the bees by Brad, a listener,
Yeah.
who mentioned, hey, one bee produces the equivalent of 1/12 of a teaspoon. But at the same time, they pollinate thousands and thousands of plants during their lifetime. So it depends on how you're evaluating. We kind of value bees for the honey, but they do a much, much bigger work in terms of pollinating plants in their
we
lifetime.
wouldn't have fruit and vegetables and yummy things like that God has given us to eat without the work of these little bees. Like, it's not just about the sweetness. The sweetness is kind of like the cherry on top of the cake, right? But what they do as their hard little worker bees is, so important for just our ecosystems, for our survival as creatures that eat vegetarian foods. So...
And that is a shout out here, not only to the bees, because the bees, they usually get all the credit for pollination, but they're not the only pollinating insects.
And birds.
Yes,
and
birds, bats. But look, even in terms of insects here, sometimes even like the housefly that we often don't like, they do pollination as well.
That's true.
So, they're doing good work for the Lord. Some of the moths and butterflies, they are doing this way. Perhaps not, they don't have all the glamour or the honey, but I think that actually aligns with our Epaphroditus story here. That sometimes not because...
Don't do it for the glamour.
Yeah, it's not because you're getting a lot of credit from the world and visibility that means that you are less valuable in the sight of God. On the contrary, I think that sometimes that humble spirit of serving can be of even more value before the eyes of God compared to the person that gets all the limelight, all the glamour, but they're not really doing that from a place of 100% gratitude and service to God. This is it. Tomorrow we'll be back with more, so stay tuned.
God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.